Yo, what's good, bro? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about a question I know a lot of you have thought about at some point. How hard is game development for solo devs? And listen, I've been on both sides of the fence for this one. I made games completely by myself, and I've also made games while working with a team. Both of these come with some big pros and some minor disadvantages that you might not think about when you're starting out. So let's get into it. But when I first started, I was all about solo development, just me, my laptop, and a bunch of broken scripts. And honestly, it was peaceful. No deadlines, no one in my DMs asking, yo, did you finish that system yet? No meetings, no bro, can we hop in VC real quick at 2 a.m.? It was just me vibing, experimenting, and learning. And that's probably the biggest strength of working alone, freedom. When you're solo, you set your own pace. You can spend 3 hours figuring out the most efficient way to make a health bar. Or you can drop the whole thing and start working on a completely unrelated dungeon generator. Nobody cares, nobody's watching, nobody's waiting. And that freedom is huge for beginners because when you're learning, you actually need that space to really mess up. You need to fail a couple times, and you need to do it without feeling like you're slowing down a whole team or wasting someone's time. So yeah, solo dev is peaceful, but let me tell you why I eventually left it behind. Here's the problem with working alone. Unless you're making something super simple, solo development does not scale. Unless you're a jack of all trades or have multiple dev skills, which you don't, you're probably exclusively a scripter or animator or something, right? Anyways, I realized this about a year and a half ago. I wanted to start making more specific, more complex games, stuff that actually stood out. And I looked at the roadmap and thought, yeah, if I try to do this alone, I'm cooked. I'm gonna take 3 years. And that's when I teamed up with some other developers. No, I'm not gonna lie to you. At first, it was rough. I wasn't used to communication. Like when you're solo, you don't have to tell anyone about anything that you're working on. You just do it. But suddenly in a team, you had to actually update people every single day. If you fixed a bug, you gotta tell them. If you changed a feature, you gotta tell them. If you add a button, you gotta tell them. Like, bro, a button, maybe that's too far, but you get what I'm saying. And I was like, bro, do I really gotta narrate my every move? But yeah, that's part of working in a team. Communication is everything. Then came the deadlines. Listen, deadlines are like a double-edged sword. On one hand, they're stressful. On the other hand, they're the best thing that ever happened to my productivity. Even if you don't hit them, you'll notice you make way more progress when you're aiming at a date and have some pressure on you. So yeah, solo development is peaceful, team development is faster, but let's break it down more. Okay, so let's talk about the main pros of solo development. As we've stated before, when you're a solo dev, you have the freedom to learn. When you're starting out, the ability to experiment without pressure is priceless. You'll discover things faster when you're free to take detours. Another big pro is that all the revenue is yours. If the game makes money, you keep all of it. No splits, no contracts, no awkward, yo bro, where's my COD conversation? And the last big advantage is that you have total creative control. You completely decide what direction you want to take your game. Nobody's stopping you. But here's the truth bomb. Once you're advanced, most of those benefits don't matter as much anymore because if you're serious about making appealing games, you'll eventually need assets, UI, VFX, music, marketing, and all that extra stuff. And if you're alone, you'll either need to commission people or spend years doing it yourself, and no one's doing all that. Now I'm gonna tell you the main disadvantages of being a solo dev. As we've already established, sometimes it can take forever. If you're aiming for anything beyond simple but fun, you gotta be ready to age 5 years before you finish up, bro. I'm telling you, even the quote-unquote simple projects can take so long to develop sometimes, it's crazy. Then there's the burnout risk. You're doing everything yourself, scripting, building, designing, testing. If one of those aspects drain you, it can kill the whole project because since there's only one person working, if that one person stops, the whole game development process stops. And then this might not apply to all people, but I must say in most cases, there's little to no accountability. It sounds nice at first, but when nobody cares if you slack off, it's really easy for you to slack off. Now let's move on to the main advantages of being on a team of developers. Obviously, the first one is the speed. This is the biggest one without a doubt. With multiple people, projects just move faster. Second one is specialization. You get to laser focus on what you're good at. If you're a scripter, you can script without worrying about building or UI or whatever. Another big one that a lot of people don't really mention is that, at least for me, I'm more motivated when I'm working with a team. So if you're someone that loses motivation easily, working with a team could help a lot because you actually see more progress towards your game being made. And then I'd say the last biggest advantage is collaboration. When you collaborate with people in terms of game design, which will not always happen, you're gonna get better ideas for the game. And sometimes another dev suggests something you never thought of and it makes the game 10 times better. Now, what about the disadvantages for being on a team of developers? Now, here's when people expect me to say teammates suck, communication is hell, but honestly, if you choose your team right, there aren't many big cons. The real issue here is knowing when you actually need a team. Now, not every game requires multiple devs. if you bring on 3 other people for your game that you could have made solo, you're just splitting revenue necessarily. Like, imagine splitting 50% with someone when you could have just paid $20 for a UI commission and been done. That's the trap. Plus, a lot of games start solo and acquire a team later on, which I think is the way to go if you really want to make sure the quality of your game scales. At the end of the day, it comes down to how much money are you willing to invest versus how much revenue you're willing to split. That's the equation you gotta solve. As I've said, I've been in both sides of the fence on this one, and there's been a couple of lessons that I've learned. If you're a beginner, I suggest you work solo. You need the time to experiment and fail without pressure. That's how you'll actually learn the fastest. If you're advanced, then find a team, but choose wisely. Don't team up with just anyone. Look for people who are serious, reliable, and not just in it for the quick buck. And also always talk splits, deadlines, and expectations up front. Don't wait until the game's halfway done to bring up money. Otherwise, you're just asking for conflict. And probably that's the most underrated skill. Learn to talk to people respectfully, even when you disagree. Can't just rage quit on a team meeting because someone doesn't like your idea. And at the same time, don't let people walk over you, defend your opinion, but keep it chill. So how hard is game development for solo devs? Honestly, it depends on what you're trying to make. If it's a small, fun project, solo is perfect. You'll learn a lot, you'll experiment a lot, and you'll probably finish faster than you think. But if you're dreaming about a big, polished, complex game, yeah, good luck finishing that alone without going insane. You'll need a team eventually. Both paths are valuable. Solo makes you stronger, team makes you faster, and if you play your cards right, you can use both. So my advice is start solo, grow into a team dev, and never forget the lessons you made from each side. That's it for today, bro. Keep leveling up, be safe, and I'll see you when I see you. Peace.